Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am currently sitting in the corner of my living room where my Christmas tree was. I just took that down, which you guys will see in a future video that I'm doing a clean and undecorate with me for Christmas. And I just wanted to take a break in the middle of cleaning to film this video because I wanted to put this up for you guys. I've done one of these for every year since I've been on YouTube except for the last couple years. And they're super fun to look back on. I was watching some of my old ones from 2015, 2016, 17, 18, and 19, I think. I think in 2020, I don't think I filmed one of these, but I have filmed one of these in most every year that I've been on YouTube except for, like I said, the last couple years. And I just love doing these, and it's good to reflect on in the coming years. And honestly, 2023 has been, Emmy's gonna sit on my lap. 2023 has been one of the most growing and learning and healing years of my life. And I could literally write a book on everything that I have learned in the last year, but I have narrowed it down to just a couple things. But I also, when I wrote this down, and I will put these in the comments, I started writing this back in November, and you guys can't really see, but this is page 1 of it, and then there's a back, and then I wrote a healed version because in the last year I have went through a very healing process of overcoming a lot of trauma and healing from a lot of stuff that I've been through in my entire life. So I started writing this, like I said, in November. I started writing down things, and then even from November until now, which is today is January 7th when I'm filming this, even in just those 2.5 months, I have learned so incredibly much, and I have grown and healed and overcome so much, and I'm already doing things so much better than I used to do, and reacting to things way differently than the unhealed version of myself would have reacted. And I still have a long ways to go, but so far I have come such a long way, and I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so excited to see what this new year holds for me. So I want to go ahead and get started into this video. I don't want to drag it out too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And in case I didn't mention earlier, because I don't think I even said, this is my What 2023 Taught Me video. So let's get started. So I'll start out with kind of a lighter topic here, and I will say the first thing that I have learned, and probably the craziest thing that I've learned, is that the state I live in now, which is Virginia, is completely different than what I'm used to. People are so busy, go, and I love that about this, but it also comes with a lot of rude behavior. People don't know how to drive here. There's a lot of differences in what I knew back home in West Virginia and opposed to what I've learned here. So just a couple things that I've learned in regards to that is people don't realize that the left lane on the interstate is for speeding people. It's for the fast lane. It's for people who want to get a speeding ticket, is what I joke with my coworkers about. It is to pass people. It is not for you to sit in. It's not for you to drive in. It's not anything. It's literally for you to pass people and go back into the right lane. So that's one of the biggest things, and it's kind of funny, but it's kind of not. I've also recently learned that people are, like I said, so go, that they are, or can be, very rude when it comes to that. People are very much just obsessed with themselves and what they need, and there's not a lot of people over here that will stop and have a conversation with you, or even just say something as simple as excuse me when they're trying to get by you. They just go so quick. They don't have a sense of mindfulness for others. And I know that's just a cultural thing here. And again, I like the fact that it's a lot faster of a pace, because where I'm from, you'll meet Joe Smo down the road and you'll see him in the in the dollar store or the grocery store, and he'll stand there and talk to you for an hour. And I also didn't completely like that, because everybody back there is just so go with the flow and so easygoing, and they're never in a hurry. And I like parts of that, and I also like parts of living here where everybody's go go go, but I wish there was like a happy medium between the two, where people could be respectful and mindful and still be kind to you, but not spend an hour talking to you and catching up with you, and be so slow and not in a hurry that they just disregard your time. So I just wish there was a balance between the two. I wish that you could be hustle and bustle, go, 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 but also have manners about it. And that's just something, again, that is just a cultural difference for me that I've learned since moving to Virginia, that it's just a little bit different. And again, not overall different. Like, there are still some people that are very kind and respectful, but for the most part, I've found in the last year that most people are not, and that's just the reality of it. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing, it's just how it is. Also, again, with that is people don't know the speed limit. They're either going 15 miles over the speed limit or 15 miles below the speed limit. They also don't know what a stop sign is. I've had a lot of people just like tap and go at the stop sign and pull out in front of me and cut me off. So that's another thing, just a lot of driving and cultural differences in Virginia. One of the other biggest things I've learned, again, is healthcare workers are so incredibly underpaid. I am technically a healthcare worker. I work in a medical office. I am not a nurse or an MA or any actual medical clinical person, but I do work in a healthcare office, and I see what we have to deal with on a daily basis. And again, I've already known that healthcare workers were underpaid, but the amount of disrespect we have to deal with, even for my situation on an administrative basis, is so incredibly hard, and it's so underpaid for what we have to deal with, especially getting MRIs and doing all the stuff that I have to do with my job. And again, I'm not saying that I am the only underpaid one. My nurses that I work with are also underpaid. They deal with a lot more than what I do, but it's just a broken system, essentially. And I will say my company that I work for is really good about giving us bonuses, and they're just really, really good. But as a whole, not just my company, as a whole, I feel like healthcare workers are just ridiculously underpaid for what they have to deal with. Number 3 of what I have learned is that true forgiveness is when it is not deserved, asked for, or earned. Forgive like Jesus does, and it will set you free. And this is, again, something I've learned in the last couple months, especially. In the beginning of the year, I was very bitter, and I was very hurt by people in my life, and I didn't understand why situations happened the way they did. And in the last 3 months of 2023, God really opened up my eyes to why things are the way they are, and He made me forgive them and realize that sometimes that was for my good. Other times it was to teach me a lesson. And again, there's so many lessons under this category that I have learned, that, you know, sometimes people are with you for a season, and sometimes they're only with you for a short period of time. Sometimes they're with you for a longer period of time. Sometimes they leave one part of your life for a couple months or for a year, and then they re-enter. And there's just so many different seasons of life. And honestly, like I said, I spent a lot of the year bitter, and I had to learn to forgive. God woke me up one day and said, stop being bitter. Stop holding on to things that don't matter. It's only hurting you. It's only hurting me. And I had to learn to forgive, because if you are a Christian and you believe in God and Jesus, and you believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, then we also hurt Jesus by sinning. And in order for Him to forgive me and my sins, for me to make it into heaven, I have to learn to forgive other people the same way. And that was a big, big realization for me, and it was a really hard one to realize. But when I finally let go of all that bitterness, it was so incredibly freeing, and I'm so glad that I finally gave that up. And number 4 ties right into this, and this is that anger and bitterness only hurts the person holding on to it. And again, it only hurt me. The people that I was bitter at were still just living their life, doing whatever, and not worried a bit about me because they didn't intend to hurt me. And most people do not intend to hurt you or intend to make you bitter. Sometimes they do. I mean, there are bad people out there that intentionally try to hurt you, but most people that hurt you don't do it intentionally. So again, holding on to the bitterness and the anger only hurts yourself, and they're going to continue to live their life, so you might as well just give it up and continue to live yours as well. Another big thing that I've learned this year is that loneliness and being alone are 2 completely different things. And I've always kind of known this. I've always been very much of a loner. I've always done things by myself. Never really had a crew or a good friend group. I'd have like 1 or 2 good friends, but I've never had like a bunch of people at my house. I've always been very introverted. But this year was a whole different level of that because I moved to a new city. Don't really know a single soul over here, and the one person I did know over here quit talking to me for a period of time. And so I was completely alone. I didn't have anybody to rely on, didn't have anybody to hang out with, didn't have anybody to really talk to, and I learned to deal with things so much on my own. And again, it was hard. It was not an easy journey by any means, but it was necessary for me because again, when I did have a crew of people in the last 3 years, I did have a really good group of people, and I relied on them a little bit too much to where I lost myself, and I had to take a step back to evaluate myself and get myself in a good headspace to where I've got me. Even if nobody else in the world has got my back, I got me and God's got me. It was such a good thing to learn that just because you are alone does not mean you have to be lonely. You can go out, you can do things by yourself, which was a big thing for me because I am very, I have a lot of social anxiety. So doing things by myself was really hard, but I had to push myself out of those boundaries and force myself to not be physically alone in order to not feel lonely. Next 2 things kind of tie into each other, that I am allowed to trust my own discernment. I don't need others to validate my feelings. Intuition is your compass. And again, this goes along with being alone. I relied on my crew of people that I had for a really long time for my intuition. I would get an intuition, or if you're a Christian, I would get what I felt was a message from God in my head, and I would go to these other people who were Christian people as well and friends of mine, and I would say, oh my gosh, God, I feel like God's telling me this. Do you guys feel this too? And when they would be like, no, I would be like, oh, well, maybe I'm not feeling that, or maybe my intuition is telling me something different. And I relied so heavily on validation from other people to validate my own intuition, and you can't do that. Yes, it's good sometimes to have a little bit of validation, but when I feel something heavily in my spirit, I need to believe it for myself, and not everybody is going to have the same intuition as me. So I have to learn to trust that and to really process that on my own. And yes, you can have others to talk to about it, but don't let what they say about it determine how you feel about it. Another thing that goes right along with it is that I don't need to explain myself to others. My story is mine. And I've spent so much of my life, and I feel like most people that have been through trauma have also spent a lot of their life doing this, and it's just a trauma response almost. But I feel like so many people who have been through something fight so hard to explain themselves. Like, this is why I feel this way. This is why I do this, or this is why this one time when I was a child, this thing happened, and now I do this thing when that thing gets brought up, or just certain things like that, where a lot of times people know. Sometimes if you've been through trauma, you don't know why you react the way you do, but I, on the other hand, have studied myself so much from being alone so many years that I know why I react, but I don't always know that in the moment, and I don't always catch it enough to do the reacting different, if that makes sense. So, but I've spent so much of my time explaining to other people my life and why I am the way I am, and I don't need to explain to anybody. They either love me for who I am or they don't. And yes, I have work to do. I will always have work to do. I'll never be a perfect person, but I need to stop explaining myself so much to people and trying to get my point across to people who just won't understand it, and that don't try to understand it mainly, because some people that are your friends will try to understand and will do everything they can, and others will just not even try. And it sucks, but again, I don't have to explain myself to anybody else. I am the way I am, and you either like it or you don't, and that's that. And that's not to say that there's not things that I need to change or need to work on, and people can call me out on that, but you have to accept me right where I am right now and help me to work through the things that I still have to work on. Saw a video for this one the other day, but it was the way that she explained this was so great, and I might include the video in here if I can, but this video was on TikTok, and it says, the battles you refuse to fight, your kids are going to have to fight. Breaking curses isn't easy, but it's worth it. And I don't know, again, how much you guys know about generational curses and what it says in the Bible about them, because again, everything that I relate to is biblical, but it also is just on a normal basis, generational curses exist. People always say, well, I'm an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic and his father was an alcoholic, or diabetes runs in my family, cancer runs in my family, and those are things on a spiritual level and on a physical, like normal level, that you don't have to continue to pass along down through your lifeline. Like, you don't have to continue to pass this down through generation to generation. You don't have to be depressed just because your mom was depressed. You don't have to do these things. And yes, some of it does have a genetic makeup for it, but you can choose to fight that, and you can choose to beat that depression or that anxiety or that addiction or whatever. You can choose to fight that and say, it ends with me. I'm not going to be an addict just because my mom was an addict. I'm not going to be an alcoholic just because my dad was an alcoholic. You can choose to an extent, and like I said, some of this is chemical makeup, and it's so much harder to do that when it is a chemical makeup, but you can still refuse to let it get you down. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned, that I have to break these generational curses that have been passed down through my family, or else my kids are going to have to deal with it. And I don't want my kids to have to deal with that. I want my kids to live with better than what I've dealt with. And if I don't refuse to fight, if I don't refuse to continue this pattern, then my kids are going to continue it, and then they're going to have to fight to discontinue this pattern. And it just really hit home the way she explained it. Is it's like, if I don't stop it now, my kids are going to have to deal with it too. And that's a big, big thing for me, is I don't want my kids to have to go through what I went through. And nobody should if you've lived through a traumatic life. Now, if you've lived a good life, then obviously you want your kids to have good things. And I've had good things in my life. I'm not saying my life was all bad, but the bad things that have happened to me in my life, I don't want my kids to have to go through that. So I want better for them. And I feel like most people and parents should want that. So you have to put in the work now so that your kids can have a better life in the future. These all kind of tie in together again, but the next thing that I have on my list is that changed behavior is the only acceptable apology. And again, this was a quote that I saw on Facebook that kind of explained it exactly how it was processed in my mind. And it basically said that I'm not going to continue to talk to people who owe me an apology. I'm not going to continue to have casual conversation to somebody who doesn't see the wrong in their behavior and doesn't apologize for it. And that's one of my New Year's resolutions this year, is to just make amends. My family, growing up, a lot of times we would get into an argument, we'd go into our separate bedrooms, cool off, and then we'd come back out and we would just pretend like nothing ever happened. There would be no apology, no conversation, no nothing. It just went away. And I don't feel like that is a healthy way to deal with things. And now that I'm healed, I want to try and continue to do healthy things. And I feel like when you actually have a conversation after somebody has hurt you or you've hurt somebody, and you have a conversation, you say, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said this. I said it out of anger, or this triggered me, or whatever. That gives both of you an opportunity to grow and to learn from that experience. And it also shows that you are trying and that you realize you've messed up. And again, it's going to happen. People are going to argue. People are going to get in disagreements. It just is human life. That's what happens. But when you can go back and you can sit down and have a conversation with that person, and you can explain to them your side and hear their side out, that so much overall gets resolved between the two of you. You both learn and grow and change. And I just feel like that is how it should be. And again, I didn't grow up in a family like that. We basically just went in our rooms when we got mad and came back out and pretended like nothing ever happened. And it led to a lot of resentment. It led to a lot of bitterness, and a lot of stuff got built up, and then it would later explode in this big thing. And I don't feel like it's a healthy way to deal with things. So one of the biggest things I've realized is I'm not going to have just casual conversations with people if you owe me an apology. We're either going to sit down and have the conversation we need to have and make the apologies and the amends that we need to have, or we won't continue to talk, period. So another big thing that I've learned is that healing seems scary, and in some ways it is, but gratitude attracts more good things, and hard work pays off. Gratitude attracts more good things. And this is literally just the fact that I have healed so much over the last year, and I don't know how. Like, there's not instructions on how to do it. I can't tell you, do this and do that, and do this and do that. And for a long time, when I was going through some stuff when I first moved here with the girl that I moved in with, and I would ask her, she'd be like, you need to heal from that. You need to heal from that. And I'd be like, well, how? I don't know how. And I still don't know how, but it's happened, and it's happening, and there's not really a way to explain it to somebody. Like, it's just, I've woken up and I've said, you know what? Yes, that happened to me when I was a kid, but it is, I am now an adult, and I can change that, and I can make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I'm grateful for the life that I went through. I'm grateful that I went through that so that I can learn from it, grow from it, and move on from it. And it's just getting up every day and being grateful for what you have, being grateful for what you went through, being grateful that you're not going through it now. And that's literally the only thing that I can tell you if you're going on a healing journey to better yourself and to heal yourself from any trauma you've went through, is it's literally, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just one day you wake up and you decide, I am healing, and that's not going to bother me anymore, and you just do it. Like, I don't have words for how it happened. I wish I could lay it out to you on a platter and give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it, but there's not a step-by-step. And I didn't understand that until I went through it myself, because I was looking for somebody to give me step-by-step instructions, and there is none. There's literally not. And again, it took me going through it to realize there's not really a step-by-step. It just kind of happens. And I'm grateful that it did happen, but literally all I've done is wake up every day and be grateful of the life that I have, and choose to have a happy mindset regardless of whether it's a bad day or a good day. I try to stay positive no matter what, and say, yes, maybe things happened when I was a kid or when I was a teenager or previously in my life, things have happened to me, but I'm fighting every day to better myself and better my life, and I can't dwell on those things anymore. I have to continue moving forward, and yes, it sucks that those things happened, and they probably should not have happened, but they did, and there's nothing I can do about it except move on. And once you get that mindset in your mind and you stick with it and you continue to do it every day, it is life-changing. Another big thing that I've learned, and again, this ties in with everything I've already said, but it's another very big life lesson, is that difficult conversations are daunting, but they are very important. And again, nobody wants to go and have a conversation with somebody and said, hey, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that. Hey, I had the wrong opinion about you, or hey, I judged you, or hey, I don't like the way you do this, or whatever the conversation may be. But again, it's such an important thing because both of you get the opportunity to learn and grow from that. And I've already touched on this, so I won't go too far into this, but have those conversations that are hard, because even though you might not like confrontation, like I don't, these are opportunities to grow and to learn, and for the other person to grow and learn. And another one that I have learned is that relationships are allowed to evolve and space is okay. So in the beginning of this year, again, I've kind of touched on this in the video already, but I had a friend walk out of my life for a little bit, and it was about 6 months of a period of time where I was completely blocked. I didn't hear anything from anybody. I was completely left on my own. And again, it's not an ideal situation, but I've grown so much because of that conversation. And that person is now in my life again. And we both had to go through some things alone in order to reconnect. And again, not everything is going to turn out that way. There's going to be some friends that leave you for good. There's going to be some friends that leave you for a season and then re-enter. And then there is some friends that are never going to leave you. And that's great. And you have to accept things for what they are, and you have to understand that relationships can change and evolve, and that's okay. It's okay if you once talked to somebody all day, every day, and then you only talk to them every couple months now. It's okay if somebody once talked to you all day, every day, and now you don't hear from them at all. It's okay that things change, and sometimes space is necessary for progress on both of your ends, and it's okay. And one of the last and biggest things that I have learned is that your environment is everything. And I didn't realize this as much in the last couple years until I moved to Virginia, because I am completely away from all the small town drama. I'm completely away from any family drama. And if that kind of thing does come up, like it kind of did at Christmas a little bit, I'm allowed to leave and go home and go back to a space that is safe and is important and that I love so much. And again, it took me moving an hour away from everything I've ever known to realize this, but I have built an environment for myself that I feel so good in and I'm so excited for. And even if this is just like a work environment, if you're not feeling safe and protected and heard in your environment, change it, because your environment is going to set the mood for the rest of your life. And again, it took me moving away to learn this, but I'm so happy that I've built this life where I'm so happy and thrilled, and I've been able to heal, and I've been able to grow and learn, and it's just been such an amazing year. And that is it that I have on my list, but there has been so many things. Like I said, I could go into a 2-hour video of what I've learned, and I could literally write a book of all the things I've learned this year, but those are just kind of the ones that stood out to me and the most important ones that I thought you guys needed to hear and that I needed to share with you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna go get some lasagna at my friend's house now because she invited me over for dinner, so I'm excited about that. And I will be filming a New Year's resolution video coming up. I'll probably do it tonight or tomorrow when I get home, but I just wanted to go ahead and get this one up for you guys because this is the first video of 2024, and I'm so excited to see what else I learned in 2024 and how much progress that I've made and will make in 2024 and what life has in store for me. So the next video will be a New Year's resolution video, and then I also have a undecorate with me for Christmas, and it's like a clean and undecorate with me. And then there will be a Valentine's Day decorate with me video. I don't know if I'll include that in the clean and undecorate or if it'll be a separate video, but that will be coming soon. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a comment down below and let me know anything that you have learned in 2023 and how your year was, because I'm curious. I know it was a hard year for a lot of people, but for some reason for me it was a really good year, and I mean, I'll take it. So if it was a really hard year for you, I apologize, but just leave me a comment down below and tell me what you might have learned in 2023 and any videos you might want to see in the upcoming couple months. And I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye guys.